Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Not to Comic Book. This being a show where we talk about TV shows that are adaptations of comic books. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the latest episode of Supergirl. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. But first and foremost, we're picking up where last week's episode left off with, the whole situation about finding out Jeremiah died. I completely forgot to talk about that last episode. I mean, that was like the last thing of the episode, and I completely forgot about it. And yeah, dealing with the aftermath of that because, obviously it's like, well, they got to get prepared for the funeral and everything. Because it turns out Jeremiah, after the whole Cadmus business, ended up kind of being hidden. I forgot what the mountains were, but essentially it's where, apparently where John and him had met previously. So it was kind of a place that he felt, at home and a connection to. But basically he had been helping out people there. And apparently he died from a heart attack. Which is kind of interesting considering everything that you go through, everything that happened in your life, for that to kind of be the end is, kind of sad. I'm wondering, is there a reason for that? I kind of don't want to look into it too much because I'm like, oh, is that kind of a depressing? I mean, it might just be kind of like the same reason they killed Gypsy in Supergirl. It might just be a decision of like, well, let's use this because we don't really, so it might be kind of a similar situation. I don't know. Part of me kind of doesn't want to look into it because I'm like, oh, I want to see if there's any other depressing reasons behind that. But regardless, the fact of the matter is, Kara, is kind of at least, it's hitting her hard because despite the thing of being like, oh, calling Jeremiah, or calling her, Alex's mom, never really calling them mom and dad just because there's always been that slight separation of, she still thought of them as the only parents she's really known growing up. And obviously, it seems like this is hitting Alex the hardest because Alex doesn't want to go to the funeral because for her, she actually kind of resents Jeremiah because it's like he was out there and he never contacted us, which, for Kara, it's like the fact of the matter is because of Cadmus, of course he wouldn't be able to contact us. So, he didn't want to put us in danger. But for Alex, what irritates her the most is sadly because she feels like Jeremiah never saw her. Because Jeremiah tasked her with looking after her sisters. Obviously, playing the big sister role is one thing, but it just felt like for her, she was always supposed to be Kara's keeper, a keeper of her secret, always looking out for her. But also, it's like you saw Kara more than you did me. The justification for that, I would assume, is just because it's like, well, Kara had no one, you had a family, but he kind of took care of Kara because she needed it because she had no one. Like, it's like for him, it could be the argument he saw that you were so strong that he felt like he didn't have to worry as much about you. Whereas Kara, he felt like, even though she might have all these powers and everything, she's still, just as human on the inside as anyone else, even though she's a Kryptonian. She hurts just like any other person would. So maybe that's kind of the justification. But obviously for Alex, it's just a thing of like, she grew up resenting her dad for it, I mean, obviously we kind of already knew that, like, there was animosity she held towards Kara because of like, oh, you being special and her not. So that was always a thing, and I think it's just a combination of all that. Plus, it's like she wanted to find her dad, but now it's just kind of like, because for her, she was like, I was hoping at the very least, maybe, if he wouldn't find us, that we could find him. But now it's like it's too late. He's gone, and there's no fixing it. Like she's so pissed at him and even saying all that she said to Kara. It's like, I think it's so messed up because at the same time, it's like you're almost blaming Kara for the complicated relationship you have with your dad. Not what Alex did. She was just mad. She was upset. She was grieving and she was lashing out. I just felt like, oh, that's kind of sad that you lash out at Kara like that. Because, Kara understands. It's like, you're talking to the girl who lost her entire species except for her cousin, and what the hell, thought she lost her mom. Oh, she lost her mom twice because she found her mom again. It's like, hey. And then it was like, oh, crisis happened and Argo got wiped out, but her mom's back. So it's a complicated thing. It's a complicated feeling. But the fact of the matter is, Kara still remembers that feeling. But the difference is, your mom came back. My dad didn't, type of situation. So that could be the argument with it. And even Kelly trying to reach out, because even Kelly's like, I understand that. But, for Alex, it's my pain is different. I lost him, I got him back, and then I lost him again. It's like it's stabbing in my heart. I'm like, I'm losing him over and over again, which isn't supposed to take away from the fact that Kelly and Jimmy lost their dad too. But, once again, it's just a thing of like, you're trying not to judge because at the same time, it's like you are going to act very irrationally. You're not going to be thinking clearly. You're in so much pain. And so she's drinking. And so Alex, feeling like she just needed, to kind of get away from her pain, ends up going into VR. And it's so interesting because, like, obviously last episode we saw it. The fact is that the VR, the Obsidian Platinum is set up for the things of like, oh, these are the things that kind of Alex that matter the most to Alex, and it's like one being a mother, and then obviously we saw last episode the whole her being Supergirl thing, and we can take a dive into that. It's actually kind of really interesting to see. Kind of weird to kind of see Kyler Lee with like the wig and everything. It just kind of catches you off guard a little bit seeing her with like, for one, the black wig and everything, because it's supposed to be like obviously like, you know, mirroring, you know, Supergirl's hair and everything, but it's just interesting. And obviously the black suit, which just immediately makes me think of what's his name? Was it Dugan or Deegan? I think it was Dugan. I don't remember. Home dude from Elsewhere, when he was Superman, he was in the black suit and everything. Which also because that's a thing in the comic book too, the black suit Superman situation. So I just think it's interesting. I mean, it's a very nice color scheme, the blue and black. But regardless, the fact is, you know, she's kind of enjoying the Supergirl game because it's like, all right, let me punch something, and you know, she shows up. You know, she meets what was it, Adventurer Tilly, or something like that. Her real name's Bonnie and everything, because obviously she's going through a thing similar to Alex because of her sister being sick and can't be with her right now. So she needed to kind of get away as well, you know. So Alex kind of found some kinship, but she was also able to kind of do her Supergirl thing, heat vision and everything. She's like, oh, that car makes this look so easy. And she does it again. It's like, yeah, she's kind of having fun. She goes, eats and everything. And she meets up with Bonnie again. But then Bonnie was like, my name's not Bonnie, my name's Tilly. And it's like, oh, well, that's not good. And then we see in real life, oh, she's stuck in VR. But obviously, Alex goes to the DEO. And it's so interesting that the DEO is kind of a reflection of old school DEO. And it kind of makes sense why it would be. Because obviously, the last thing she'd want to do is be in a DEO run by Lex. But to see like, oh, like, you know, John's back there. Because it's more like a foundation of like, it's obviously a combination of new school versus old school, because having John at the helm makes her feel good, because it's like, someone respectable. Because I think for her, it's like being the boss in charge is a very complicated thing. I think down that subconsciously on some route, she, you know, especially with everything she's going through, she didn't want to kind of take charge. She just kind of want, hey, be pointed in the direction of let's kick some butt, save the day. But John's kind of, you know, the leader of the DEO right now. And I even love, like, it's so interesting just for whatever reason. It's like, oh yeah, Nia's here too. So, I mean, obviously she's superior and everything, but it's just so interesting to just see her kicking it around in the DEO. But what's also interesting, I feel like the actor who plays, you see Brainy kind of acting more, and it's just overacting. In a sense, it's like, oh my God, this is like just the way he talks and the way he's acting. I'm like, he's really going all Shatner, like this, you know, stereotypical Shatner for Captain Kirk of, you know, Star Trek and everything, OG Star Trek. That's why I'm just thinking it's kind of interesting. And in the grand scheme of things, it kind of got me thinking, typically that's kind of how Brainy is. Brainy is kind of a little Captain Kirkish, specifically William Shatner-like, isn't he? But especially in this particular moment, just like I said, he's just kind of this like super dramatic and just overacting, and I'm like, I love it. I kind of didn't think about it till now, because it seems like it's such a point to like super overact, but I guess it's because he's supposed to be like this like super animated NPC, because they're all NPCs, which is also going to be weird seeing NPCs that are manifested. I mean, it's almost like playing a Sims game, because I mean, well, it's literally playing a Sims game, but it's just like, rather than making characters that look and act like your friends, they're literally your friends inside it, your family, and it's got to be weird. But it's interesting too that she would, I mean, obviously it's kind of helping her face her trauma, because who does she battle against? Hank Henshaw. Does not appear to be cyborg Superman in at least in this continuity. Within the confines of the simulation, he seems like he's a human and everything. So it's like, oh, I kidnapped your sister and everything, and I'm going to destroy your family, blah, blah, blah. Luckily, Alex is like, I'm Supergirl, and she, you know, beats him and wins and arrests him. But, you know, at first it's kind of like, oh, but then slowly but surely, you know, for Alex, she's like, yeah, I remember I'm supposed to be remembering something, but I can't remember what it is. It's just all this, you know, I feel like I'm doing the right thing. I feel like this all feels, and John's like, right? And it's like, oh, that's not good. And then we see that Alex has slipped deeper into the simulation. She can't get out now. So at the same time, you know, Kelly trying to give Alex her space, you know, William comes to her for help, looking into this whole situation, because obviously he's looking into, like, the fact is Lex put up a whole bunch of satellites all across. All the satellites are in this, you know, above, like, in space, but lined up above every city that he's visited in kind of his, like, Obsidian tour, so William thinks that's kind of interesting. But obviously Kelly, because of Alex, is, weary of Lex, but there's no connection between all this as well as the hacker from last episode. We now know that was his own thing, but we know that's a Leviathan thing, and that's not just an Obsidian thing. They're kind of the Obsidian overlords, but obviously that's still kind of their thing. Lex had nothing to do with it, but he's kind of getting in bed with them, so it kind of is on Lex because he knows what's going on, not telling anyone because he's playing his own game, trying to defeat them for the sake of the world. But obviously, like always, Lex has his own intentions. We'll get to that soon enough. But the fact is, William and Kelly look into this because obviously Kelly brings his attention to Andrea, that the fact is that this glitch still exists, and she's like, that should have been on Gemma's side of things. They're blocking the money to get that patched up, and I'm like, they would do that. Andrea is none the wiser about everything, but she's like, we can't jeopardize like letting people know that this glitch. We can't have them worry about it, because if they worry about it, they won't have the device to kind of compensate for them dealing with their worry. It's kind of a bit of a catch-22 type of situation. At least from Andrea's eye. So it's a thing of like, why compromise this tool? Because once again, you can make the arguments like, well, you're looking at it from a business perspective rather than the heartfelt perspective, because you've been kind of shown to be like very like a little bloodthirsty when it comes to business, because you're a businesswoman. Like, that's just how things work. I mean, you've done what you've done to make sure that your father's company survived and everything, but it always seemed like business came first prior to like the human element. To be fair, who knows, things might be a little different with this Andre, because to be fair, those elements we saw when it came to Catco, that was all pre-crisis Andrea. This is post-crisis Andrea, so obviously we know her story's different. We don't know like 100% of that element of just being like it, because it could just be the thing of like, no, this device helps so many people, there's good that comes from it, so why jeopardize that? But you could also look at it from the perspective of just because of who she was pre-crisis, that maybe this is just purely a business decision. But it does seem like she's taking it seriously, as far as she can take it, when it comes to the Gemma angle. But we'll get to that soon enough. Kelly's trying to reach out to Alex but can't wake her up, even injecting her with like adrenaline from like I would assume that's kind of essentially an EpiPen. But I guess I didn't know that's how EpiPens were. I don't know if that was necessarily an EpiPen. It might just be like adrenaline in general, but I guess that's what EpiPens kind of do. I don't know if that's the case or not. I'm not very well knowledgeable in that area, but regardless, the fact of the matter is, Alex is still kind of stuck in it, and then there's like that lady Vida, and ends up zapping some dude with heat vision, and she's like, yeah, my Kryptonian sister. And then it's just like, okay. I was like, what's this all about? I thought that was interesting. That just seemed weird and out of nowhere to me. But I guess Alex didn't think much of it until she ran across someone else dressed like Supergirl, more traditional Supergirl. It's like, wait, what? He's like, hey, Supergirl. It's like, oh, look, black. It's like, oh, look at this shit. And Alex was like, wait, this doesn't make any sense. But in that moment, she was like, wait, this isn't real. And then, wakes herself up. And it's like, all right, I was like, is she back in reality? And she's texting Kelly. I was like, okay. But then John calls her, and it's like, I was like, yeah. I was like, oh, we inceptioning right now, because she's still under. She thought she woke up. Kelly goes into the program trying to wake her up. But Alex, the program has got her so programmed to believe that this is reality. She's not willing to listen to Kelly being like, because they reference, I forgot her name. She was a villain. I forgot what season she was the beginning of. She was in the first episode or two of I don't think it was season 4. It might have been, I want to say it was season 3. I could be mistaken. The villain that can mess with your perception of reality and stuff like that. I want to say the last time her and Kara crossed paths is when they were when she was working with Livewire. The episode Livewire died in season 3. I want to say that was so it had to be at the beginning of season 3, because that dealt with the Dark Kryptonian, the whole rain situation. Regardless, tangents and stuff like that. But it was her, and the programs are like, Kelly was attacked, because subconsciously Alex didn't want an escape. She hadn't really confronted what she was dealing with, so the program was basically burying her deeper. It took advantage of the vulnerable state she was in just to keep her stuck in it. Luckily, Kelly got out of there before the programs could lock her in a med bay. Who knows where that situation would have turned into. But she talks to Andrea, and Andrea is basically like, you got to get Alex to confront something and, make her realize this isn't real. So she has Alex confront, herself, which is interesting. I'm sure Kelly programmed the program to, talk like Alex, but also added in hints of herself. But when it's all said and done, she has to kind of confront, the reality of oh, this is who I am. The fact of the matter is your dad, he's really gone. I did like that effect. I don't know why. When she reached for her dad and he turned into that dust and kind of disappeared, I was like, I don't know why. I just like that effect. But the fact is, Alex kind of had to confront. It's younger Alex had to be like, hey, this is the reality of it. Your dad is going, basically, it's not your fault what happened to him. I know that she was basically telling her, I know that you blame yourself, but he ended up where he was because of his choices. That's not on you. But the fact of the matter, despite whatever the situation is with dad, the fact of the matter is you still have people out there who love you and care about you. That being Kara, that being John, that being Kelly, Brainy, Nia. So don't think you're alone in this. And look, obviously the program shows up, it's Nia, John, and Brainy still being that's a shapeshifter, we're gonna have to kill it. Even her mom showing up, I was don't believe it. The whole thing kind of reminded me, there was an episode of Buffy. I'm not well versed in Buffy, but there's some episodes of Buffy I remember. I don't remember the episode in and out, but I remember how it ended. It reminds me of that episode where Buffy, all that stuff about you being a vampire slayer, all that stuff that's all in your head, you're actually in a psych ward. It heavily reminded me of that. But Alex freezing everyone and then kind of smashing them. I don't know. Her doing that kind of made me think of some Injustice. I don't know. It made me think of a battle move in Injustice. It's something that Captain Cold or Superman or Supergirl would do. More so Captain Cold, but still, it just made me think of that. And luckily, Alex was able to wake up thanks to Kelly. And it was kind of sad when she kind of broke down what was really her issue and everything. Because for her, it's she was hopeful that her dad would come back, and even if he didn't, the fact is that she would be able, what was it? I can't remember if it was even if he couldn't find them, that at least they could find him in some shape or form, that he would still be out there, but now that's all not possible because at the end of the day, she was lashing out at everybody who, pushing away the people who care about her. But it was more so because she was mad at herself because she felt like she failed him. So hence why she became Supergirl. What Supergirl represents, Kara represents hope. And at a time, Alex felt hopeless, So, I think it's kind of a nice, obviously, there's no good outcome to it because it still doesn't take away the fact that her dad is gone, but they never have a chance to really kind of deal with all those underlying issues that Alex has had. It's she had felt like that for such a long time, and it just him being gone now just made it all kind of fully bubble to the surface, But once again, Kelly reminded her that she's not alone, that they're all there for her, So I thought, like I said, there's kind of a sweet silver lining to it. Even at the end when she's sitting beside Kara, she's like, I'm sorry about all those nasty things. She's like, it doesn't matter. You're here right now, and they're holding each other. I was like, that's a beautiful element to this whole situation. There is a part of me that was still kind of you don't think Jeremiah faked his death or something like that? And it's probably not. That probably is real, but I'm curious to see kind of what that means kind of going forward. But another avenue in this episode is the fact is that we have William investigating, because he has an NSA friend that was oh yeah, basically the 402 users, 337 were ended up being employee, I forgot what the term was, the one they used, but it ended up being oh, they're fine or whatever, but no connection to Luther. But it's what about the rest, which is about 55, if I'm doing my math correctly. I'm probably not, but whatever the case may be, there's 55 people that are still online, and they're all in this one particular spot. William goes to check it out, but sees nothing because it seems they probably technologically speaking, I don't think that's that lady's ability. It's probably just technology based, but it's a perception filter that kind of blocked William from seeing what he needed to see. Which is interesting. Sundays, obviously Westworld and everything, that being a thing where the host can't see things that might contradict what they believe to be the reality. It's kind of interesting. The whole perception filter thing, it just made me think about that. But regardless, But William did find like a medical band, so it's like, all right. Once again, they're kind of coming at this from one particular angle, coming at it from the Luthor angle, but the Luthor angle will lead them to the whole Leviathan angle, so that is something else. But another interesting thing is Andrea does try calling Gemma about this whole situation because she is taking this seriously, but she doesn't get in contact with Gemma, and she goes to, talk to someone. It's like, okay, I need you to look into this stuff and come to me immediately. She walks away. Who's the person she's talking to? Eve. That opens up many different questions. One, something else we have to think about. The whole Hope and Eve situation, that was pre-crisis. This is post-crisis. So, is this Eve still working for Leviathan post-crisis because maybe her life worked out differently? Or is this still Eve possessed by Hope and Lex gave them Hope to use? Or maybe they just got her and are using her of their own volition. Once again, a lot of crisis stuff that we're slowly going to be like, how does that fit in there? Like, how did that come about? So that's what I'm curious. I'm leaning towards thinking it's the former of like, that's straight up Eve. It's just her life worked out differently because Andrea never worked. So she's under Leviathan, but she never was aware of working for Leviathan. Whereas pre-crisis she's not post-crisis. So maybe the opposite is in this case of like maybe Eve. Well, obviously Eve always kept working for Leviathan, but now is a situation of it's different. I don't know, or maybe like I said, maybe it is still Hope / Eve because obviously because that also depends on Lena because Lena's life is a little differently. So who knows her whole plans? That's her prior to everything. So who knows like if Lena in that position ever was ever in that position now that everything's changed. She's only the way she is now is because she remembers everything. So I don't know. Kind of get your mind racing about like, oh, what that all means in the grand scheme of things. But some very interesting things to keep in mind as we go forward into the next episode. Once again, I'm trying to figure out what is the benefit of keeping all these people under? Like, what does Leviathan benefit from that? Because it's not like it's everyone, but I guess they only need a certain task group to kind of do whatever it is they're doing, or maybe they're planning on expanding because Lex did put up all those satellites. So it might be like, oh, we're doing it small scale, and then we're going to see how everything plays out, and then we're going to do it so we hit all these major places and kind of net the entire world in this. Maybe not. We'll ultimately have to wait and see. But really, that's all I want to talk about. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and good